Hey guys, what's up? Welcome to another episode of the Laser Source Podcast, the number one podcast if you like podcasts that are sponsored. That's right, we have a sponsorship. It's like an official, real sponsorship. So I just want to take a second before we start the show, and later we'll have we talked about like some fun skits or sketches that we can kind of pre-record and play before the episode starts for future episodes, but we don't have one prepared for today. But I do want to shout them out. I don't know how long you guys have been watching the channel, but the first episode we ever aired, was about how to engrave and cut Romark signs. And Romark is a great 2-ply acrylic, and it's owned by a company called Johnson Plastics Plus. And I've been buying from them for a very, very, very long time. The only reason we even considered letting them sponsor the podcast was because I've been shopping with them for so long. And so it really is a brand that I honestly, genuinely believe in and purchase from on a regular basis. They have everything from tumblers to flat stock to engraving blanks to machines. I mean, if you need anything like that at all, I highly recommend going to check them out. They gave me a 15% discount coupon code for you guys. It's down in the description along with a link where you can go check out their site and everything that they have to offer. So I'd really like to encourage you to do that. We'll have more information about them in future episodes and some fun stuff coming from them as well that I know Matt's really excited for. I don't think we're about ready to talk about it, but it'll be coming up really soon. So I'm super excited about this new partnership. I hope you guys are too, because they really are like a really, really solid, amazing brand. And speaking of solid, Sick Kyle is here. What's up, man?
They're going to say, speaking of flat plastic.
Sick Kyle here.
And you'll notice Jason Reif from Rotoboss is here today too. What's
Jason.
up, man?
Hey, everybody.
Hey, Jason.
What's up, Kyle? You got to get one of them sick emojis, like where it's puking or something.
There was definitely some of that.
I like the grimace because it's like I'm looking in the mirror. Like, this is the face I would make at Kyle being sick.
Yeah,
you know?
That was the face you were making earlier.
This is my face of persistent existence.
Yeah, earlier, freaking Jason was making fun of me because I was reading the chat, and you guys were like all.
you look like this, by the way. You were like,
well, I was reading. I was reading. Also, Philip, I just want to shout this out. Philip PRC says, sitting here now watching a video from 4 months ago on 12 profitable products for portable laser biz. Nice info. Are we going to see any more of the Lasers to Go series, or is that dead?
So here's the deal. Jason is from Florida. Jason, what's the average temperature in Florida most times?
Well, it depends on the time of year.
Well, I know, but I'm saying we started the video, 6 months ago or something like that? And in June and July, right? What's the average street temperature? Back in June.
Come on.
Never mind. He's beating up.
Trying to turn off my TV started back up. In the summertime, it's 90 to 100, somewhere around there.
So I literally took this tripod with my camera on it, and I started walking the streets of because I told Alex when I wanted to do the segment, I was like, hey, I got a great idea for a series. I think it'll be really cool for people. And when I went I went to 2 different markets to talk to the people who run them. It was 104 degrees in a field that was a grass field. And then the other one, it was 108 degrees on a blacktop. And I was like, I'm going to wait until it's cold here in Florida, which it finally is. So I just wrote 2 emails today.
So what do you consider cold? Just like really quick.
50, 60.
Well, this time of year, like we were in the
baby.
About 2 weeks ago, we were in the teens.
Dude, right?
For like a day or two.
They don't understand that it's from 30.
And then in like the 30s for the rest of the week. And then the following week, it was 70s and 80s the whole time. And it's been that way.
Anything above 19 for me is fine. It's like under 19 is when I get cold.
What people don't understand about Florida is like in the north, you can get acclimated to the temperature as it gets cold and as it gets hot. Down here, you could be 80 degrees, 90 degrees one day, and in the 30s the next day. Like
my daughter has
a constant up and down in the wintertime.
And it's the thing. It's my daughter literally has her jacket on in the morning with a sweatshirt underneath, with a t-shirt under that, with shorts in her book bag.
Layers, dude. That's what we do here. You layer. Yeah.
Yeah, but you're going from like 40 to 32. You're like 40 degrees. Oh, God.
Yeah, that's true.
Anyways, so to answer your question, it's
yes.
finally cool enough to actually go out and try this now. Because my thing is, number one, I don't know how many people are in Florida, but I don't think it would be great in the hot heat of summer to do this. I mean, I could go out this summer and do it again to see how it affects the machinery and all that kind of stuff. But what I thought would not be great is me being like, hey guys, Matt from Laser Everything. Just like
just having a live heat stroke.
Yeah, just camera. Like literally be like, hey guys, thing. And then like, dying. So so Alex basically was like, yeah, forget that. You're fine. He's like, do it when it gets colder. So
there is more coming.
Yeah, but the problem is just so you guys know, if you ever do decide to do like farmers markets or anything like that, when you put your name into the listing of people who want to have like a market, like you want to have a booth, it takes a month or two for that process to happen. So I called them about a month ago or 2 months ago, rather, right before Christmas. And I said, hey, I'd like to do this in the beginning of the year. And then they have to say, okay, what's your business? And you have to send them files and pictures of stuff that you make so they can decide whether you fit into the plate. Because this is a really nice market that I'm trying to get into. And it's got free electricity as part of your thing, which is one of the things we found out is a big pain in the ass. So instead of having to mess with portable generators and all that, we're trying to find one. And that's one of the things I talk about in the video too, is like, okay, so now I've done my research and I'm finding out all these different things. So you can save $500 up front by just finding a place that has electricity as part of your booth rental. So anyways, definitely more info coming. And I'm hoping to actually make some money with it. So yeah.
I love it. Tim Reynolds says, you guys have trained me to get here late.
I started that one. Yeah. I was like, that's a solid comment.
That's fair. Also, I'd like to and this isn't all of them, but I'd like to shout out the people who appreciated that I put Wally in the thumbnail for this episode. I worked really hard to find a picture of Wally from behind, and I'm super stoked that I could have him on our thumbnail today. So thank you for acknowledging that.
Here's
at least for those that know what it is.
And says, I love JPP. They're great, dude. That's good.
Yep.
Mitch Ivy says, hey, Jason, got my Ascend in the other day. Love it. Works amazing. Great product. There you go, dude. Nice review.
Thanks, Mitch.
Let's see. Willie's here. Got 2 more Talon customers for you, Jason.
There you go.
Good deal. Yeah, they started going out last week. So we're trying to run through the pre-orders and get those taken care of.
Nice. How many pre-orders do you have left to fill before you're manufacturing what's being ordered?
Probably. Well, I mean, they keep coming in, but the pre-orders we didn't really have an end date. I don't know why I didn't do that, but I don't know. We've probably sent out about 30 of them so far. We got another 30 or 40 to go to get through them all at the current time.
Nice.
But they've been in different.
Is there going to be a point where they come out of pre-order status and they just go to they're Ascend status where you just buy one and it gets made?
Well, I mean, yes. We did the first run. Obviously, I mean, we have the parts machined and stuff overseas, and they're on holiday right now, so the next batch won't be here until probably mid-March. So probably around April we should be.
It's a good estimate.
Basically shipping them out as they're ordered.
Yeah.
But they're available on the website out of pre-order status right now. So once we run through them, then they'll go on back order, and then the back orders will be filled in March when we get the next batch.
Totally messing with you guys. It's 100% Johnny number 5 from Short Circuit. I wanted to see how upset you would get. And
Miranda didn't even know.
No, Miranda's never seen Short Circuit, so she wouldn't know. I just wanted to shout this out too. I see you're starring real questions, Matt, and if you guys are asking real questions, we will get to all of them.
There's a whole bunch of them starring.
But Bunny Eater's saying, "Where's Boyce?" Boyce will be in and out. From now on, he'll be kind of like around when he's got free time. But Boyce is actually kind of like stepping back from his position at Laser Everything, which is an announcement, I suppose. He's getting married. He's really going hard with his own personal business right now. I mean, one of the great things about the podcast lately, I don't know if you guys watch regularly. I mean, I know some of you do. But Boyce has literally gone from nothing, literally like an empty room, to like a full-fledged, full-time laser business in the year that we've known him. And it's been amazing to watch him grow and get more orders and come up with like new ideas. But him and Diana are like up to their eyeballs. They're basically, their schedule is like 100% full. And it's been nice to grab Boyce when we can, but even when he's here, he's just got like so much other stuff to do for his own business. So it's kind of looking like it's time for Boyce to like do that. He's there. He's at that kind of point where he needs to either step off the cliff and like go for it or like back off. And if you know Boyce, you know he's just gonna like close his eyes and dive off the deep end, because that's what he does. So Boyce is gonna be following that. Yeah, for a while. Plus, Boyce works a full-time job still. When we met Boyce, he worked 3 jobs and like 2 of them were full-time. He's a crazy man. So you guys will still see Boyce. He'll still be on the podcast. He's just really busy. He's loaded right now with just shit. Oh my God, it's him. Oh my God, he's here. I was just telling everybody where you were going to be, bro.
Yeah, I was coming. I just didn't see the link in the Discord.
I was literally telling everybody how busy you are, and like you fucking just business is taking off. You and Diana are getting married, and it's just like a whole bunch of stuff.
Yeah, it's been busy.
But like you're stoked though.
Yeah, it's a lot of.
Don't look too excited, man.
No, dude, I just been busting my ass, and
whenever I hear the word marriage, I think
Boyce looks tired.
Boyce does look tired. So anyway, Bunny Eater said, "Where's Boyce?" Already freaking out.
The Boyce.
Yeah, the Boyce. Where's the Boyce? Boyce is still here. Boyce is still going to be coming through. It's just not going to be every single week.
And next Tuesday we have a guest scheduled.
Yeah, very nice. Jason's just here hanging out with us today. We're doing Q&A.
Yeah, because he has nothing to do, right?
Yeah.
It's just
got back
launch
from
of new
traveling the
products.
world. No big deal.
Yeah,
so
launch a new product.
I actually didn't know if Boyce was going to come tonight or not, but that was the pre-answer. I guess we could have saved that till actually Boyce got here, but I gave them the lowdown, dude. I don't know if there's anything else you want to throw in. Boyce still loves you. I think he still loves us.
Oh yeah, I'm not going nowhere. I'm just going to help out on a volunteer basis when I can.
Loves his wife to be more, and that's good. So good for you.
Yeah.
Way to prioritize that.
Priorities.
Was there anything else nonsensical that we should cover before we actually start real questions?
Oh, I don't know. Let me see. I started a few things. Let's see. The Wally movie, JPP, they're great. Oh, yeah. So James, I forgot James is in South Florida also. Just turned off the AC and opened the window he was talking about. And Bunny Eater had also said, can't wait for Lightburn conferences to hit YouTube. Because in case you didn't get that email from LBX, if you went to LBX, they basically said they're going to have their coverage was supposed to go out in February. Yeah. But now it's looking closer to April due to whatever issues they were encountering. Like they were pretty nebulous about it. Like there's nothing shape given to it. But we understand. We just got our stuff out at the beginning of February, trying to match up with their previous timeline. Yeah. So the good news is, if you haven't watched the small segments, basically like the intermediary segments of the people who spoke at LBX, Jason, who just died, is one of the people. He's dead now. He's one of the people that was on there with me and Boyce. I think Alicia Pate and Chris Lacasio was also on that panel, which was really fun. That one's got a lot of views. They're really fun to listen and talk to. They've all got crazy stuff going on. And then there's also a 53-minute one where me and Boyce got to talk with the entire crew. Well, I guess you were there too, Alex.
I was.
And Mike
in the background.
Yeah, and we got to talk with Sarah, Joe, and Jason. So really cool.
I actually want to like actually really give this a serious plug for a second. Because these videos are being underwatched.
I forgot what we talked about, Boyce. Like I literally don't remember it all because
with Jason and them,
with any of them. It was like just like because if you notice, I'm always like clicking the phone because remember we had like such a little time.
Yeah.
Ignore Sesame Street here. Here's Laser Everything, guys. And so if you just scroll down a little bit, there's a playlist right here. It's called Lightburn Experience 2023. And inside of it, you'll find all of the Lightburn content that we've released so far. So Gil Poznansky, Hope Yoder, Jason Reif, Alicia Pate, Chris Locasio, Patrick Moore, Alan Puccinelli, Katie Devlin, Robert Kofed, and the Lightburn staff, which is Jason and Sarah and Joe. All of those episodes have been completely edited down to like the shortest version. So they're super easy to watch. There's no tedious like connection issues. If you watched it live, you probably noticed just like a ton of problems. It's because the internet was horrible, like modem terrible.
Dial-up.
This is not the case because we recorded the whole thing locally. So Jess went through and actually grabbed the locally recorded footage and edited it all together in the way that it was meant to be watched when it was live. So all of these episodes are available now. This is all of Friday from LBX. And then we also have all of Saturday and all of Sunday still sitting, waiting, and editing to be added to this playlist as well, including a visit from Bronson. And then we have like extra podcasts, and the 3 original live streams are here. So if you're trying to scratch the LBX itch in the meantime, while you're waiting for the actual conferences to be released by Lightburn, this is a good way to do it. Meet the speakers, find out and get kind of like some teasers on their actual like longer format talks. And we have a ton of fun. It's a great time. So definitely go watch this. 684 views, 537. Like most of the people that watch the channel haven't seen this. And I think they're really, really good and insightful and fun. So I would go check them out.
And I did that because 2 people had literally just asked about that. So what's the word on the podcast version for the LBX?
Oh, yeah. Let me, so podbean.com. Let's go check out Podbean. Let me log into this really quick. This is our podcast host.
Yep,
Speaking of that, how do you load video on there? Because all I could do is audio.
Onto Podbean?
Yeah.
I don't load video on here. I load if video episodes go up on YouTube.
Oh, okay.
I only do audio on here. Okay, so it looks like the only one that hasn't been published to Podbean yet is the Lightburn staff episode, which is publishing tomorrow, the 7th. Yeah, everything else has been published. So everything that we just talked about, there are also audio versions available on your favorite podcasting service. We're on Spotify, Google Podcasts. We got Apple Podcasts. I mean, you name it. There's a giant list. We're on it. And all of those are available. And this is a great time to listen to the audio podcast if you haven't. It's the same stuff that you guys watch every week. It's just the audio version. And the LBX stuff in particular, since it's mostly conversation, there isn't a lot of physical demoing of things going on in those episodes. This is a great way to consume that. So
yeah,
I would definitely check that out.
I love the podcast versions. It allows me to play on my phone in the background and do other things. With YouTube, it can't just play on the background, you know? So
yeah, totally. Because you want to like watch it. Yeah, it's like a whole thing. Yeah, the podcast is excellent for that. So
before we
definitely check it out.
Before we get into laser specific stuff, there was one more thing from the LMA side. So Anthony said, "Hey guys, my year subscription renews tomorrow as a Master Classic status. Does that cover all of the new tiers for the LMA?" And the answer is yes. You are grandfathered in, which I think I just saw Miranda say.
She did, yeah.
Yep. So you're grandfathered in. So the good news is you're locked in at the price that you've been at since you started, because we appreciate you being here.
If you were to sign back up and get everything you have with your Masters subscription now, you would be spending $25 a month. So I would definitely hold on to that. The Master Classic subs are very valuable now, for sure.
There you go. Yep. So, and by the way, the other question about where's Jason? He is here, but he's just working,
picking his nose.
Pretty much.
I'm trying to get, of all times, my camera software decided to do an update.
Yell at it.
Now we got to edit this thing.
Pull a Boyce and drop 80 F-bombs in the first 30 seconds of a video.
That's my contribution to the podcast.
Yeah.
and more.
For more of Boyce swearing and saying dirty, nasty things, visit emergency.net.
hey guys,
Dude, we ain't done that.
Johnson
Yeah,
Plastic
We need to
Mother-
do another episode, and I'm just
We
now
really
thinking
do.
it would probably be pretty fun to have Jason on.
Oh my god, he's back.
He's done
Jason
it once for us.
Jason, would you come on our eStop podcast sometime?
Sure. What is that?
It's like our
Lasers After
Bullshit.
Dark.
yeah, it's our Lasers After Dark where we
Well,
talk
it's not
about everything
lasers. Yeah.
except for work. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Anything
Okay.
but
It's horrible.
whatever.
One time, Boyce told a story about somebody effing a hole in somebody's body at a hospital. So
Nice.
it's
Yeah. That's
and
true.
one time we
About right
debated.
up, about
One
right
time
up
we
my
debated
alley.
whether you should poop in the shower and vomit in the toilet, or vomit in the shower and poop in the toilet. We argued about that for like 35 minutes. So
Sounds like
Sounds
fun.
very
yeah,
interesting.
One time,
emergency
Boyce
stop.net.
just had like 6 shots of something and he was gone.
He
Like we
did.
don't
It was
know. He literally like
it was
left.
peach schnapps. He
Yeah.
zombified out and fucking died.
He
We have
came,
no idea where he
he
went.
came on the camera like this. He goes,
What was that?
It's a great show, and we don't do it. We don't do it nearly enough. You should go check it out. Because you would. Oh, here's HR.
yeah,
That's enough.
Ah.
For the record, Miranda participates. She's one of the cast members. So if you want to listen to Miranda talk, emergencystop.net.
Oh,
She's
look,
just as bad
she's
as the
saying,
rest of us.
emergency stop it.
Emergency
There it is.
stop it.
There you go. All right.
Okay,
.net.
emergencystop.net. Yeah, that's the last one. But yeah, go check that out. I think Jason would be an awesome guest for that. Anyway, this is supposed to be a podcast where we answer people's questions, and I don't think we've done any of that yet. So, who's been tracking them? Let's go.
We got
I
a
got
bunch
it.
of them started.
Yeah, I got a whole bunch started. Go for it. If you want to, Boyce, I'm killing the ones at the top, so you can,
Oh,
if you want to.
you're deleting them.
Yeah. All right, so here we go.
Are they ones we already covered?
Nah,
Yeah.
here we go.
There we go.
All right.
That's it.
So Zach Russell said, "What kind of cut speeds can I expect to achieve with your average laser cutter that has an 80 watt? He's got an 80 watt cutting 1/8 hardwood. I built a large scale machine that carries the tube and PS on the gantry with 10 millimeters per second. I think 10 ms.
That carries the two. Oh, it's a big machine
Big boy.
with the tube and power supply on the gantry. That's like a flatbed, right? Am I thinking of the right thing?
If you have like a big 4x8 or 5x10 machine, that's usually where I see that.
Yeah, I mean, kind of the rough thing with those is that you have to move all that mass around, so that affects your max
Yeah.
speeds. But like,
Yeah,
if I was
moving
doing that, if I was doing 1/8 hardwood on like my Ohm Tech, I would probably be doing those at like 100.
I mean, it kind of depends on the intricacy of the cuts too. If you're doing big old chunky letters, right? That's one thing. But like I had a project where I was literally making finger joints in boxes this week. That's gonna be slow, right? So I mean, I think it kind of.
Yeah,
I mean, top
definitely
speeds,
depends. I think 10 sounds slow. Obviously, it's a range, and our answer is going to be kind of vague for that reason. But I think 10 feels slow.
Yeah, I've got the
Shouldn't take
150.
an 80 watt
Well,
laser 10 millimeters a second to cut through 1/8 hardwood.
for
Yeah, I have
context,
yeah.
oh, go ahead.
No, I was saying, I have a 90 watt, the Mira 9, and I go at 15 speed, only at 75% power. So I don't want to char the shit
Is
out
that
of it.
millimeters per second you're talking about?
Yeah.
Yeah,
I do
so I just
15.
did. I've got the 150, and I did 18% at 25 millimeters per second, and that was on the little finger joints, just zipping along.
Mhm.
So
Yeah,
It
18%.
really just depends on the density of the wood and everything. You'd have to do
Yeah.
the best thing to do
Yeah.
is just do some tests and
Do
see,
a cut test.
because you want to balance the cut. You want to make sure, like Boy said, you don't char the edges, and then you also want to get the best speed, obviously, because
Yeah.
time is money.
Efficiency.
So
Yeah.
you got to kind of figure out what the efficiency of your laser is, because no two lasers are the same, regardless of the brand.
I wish we
Yeah.
lived further into the future, because I always think like, man, I have the perfect photo for this, but then it's like I can't find that in Google Photos.
I'd also
Well,
do a
that's
cut
relevant.
test, cut a square, then cut a circle.
yeah, I mean, here's this. I literally just finished cutting it. See, right? Let's see.
Literally,
Oh, here we go. I actually
quite
found it.
literally.
I don't know how, but I found it in time. So this is what they look like, guys. It's literally a square, And then here I'm just cutting over and over and over and over again. I set this up as like one Lightburn file and I ran it on everything. And then you can see which of these speeds cuts it the cleanest, the fastest is essentially what you're looking for. And you can do this for every material. So over here, hey, look, easy plug, Johnson Plastics plus Romark on the right side there. How could you can't even plan that. And then on the left side here, these are wood testers from Ukuch Hardwood. And you can literally just find the fastest speed that cuts clean. Boom, there's your answer. So, and as you can see, as Jason said, it varies pretty wildly depending on the wood that you're cutting, right? Walnut and mahogany are not going to cut nearly as quickly as like basswood or birch. You're going to get much, much, much higher speeds out of those. So it really does depend for sure.
And there's a chart out there for that shows you the density of the woods, which ones are the most dense and slowest to cut.
Yeah.
It's typically the darker woods.
Up here, you can see like these birches were cutting past my max, which was 50 millimeters a second. But then some of these couldn't even make it up to 30. So it really, really depends on what you're trying to cut.
Yeah.
When I do the MDF or HDF fiberboard, I usually max out at about 15 millimeters a second at 85% with my 100 watt. Also, another factor that we haven't really talked about is air assist. Are you using really crappy air assist and you're only pumping like some passive airflow in there, or are you using a compressor and pumping 15 or 20 pounds per square inch into it during your cutting? Because that will make an enormous difference with the speed you're able to cut at.
Well, and that's what I was saying too. So a couple of things that everybody just said to kind of show you, this isn't hardwood, obviously it's plywood. And Zach said, I used the flatbed that I built. It does great for large stuff, but he needs something for smaller projects. And so this is just to kind of show you real quick. So we'll take that off. But this is literally, I mean, you can see how many zigzags there are in this thing. It's tons of right angles going zip, 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 zip. And then that's just like a really nice, to me, there was no soot, there's nothing, right? So that's where I feel like I've hit my sweet spot, I guess. I mean, what do you guys think? Right? It's like honey colored is what I call it. And so there's basically no cleanup. And it did this whole thing in about 9 minutes, like all this with other cuts that were in the middle of it all. So not bad.
Where'd Jason go?
His camera's giving him crap again. It looks like he's back. Maybe. Back. There he is.
Back, Jason?
Yeah.
Hey.
So yeah, I agree with the sentiment of kind of play with it to get it to where you need it to. The air assist, I had 20 pounds on just because I like to overkill everything. That's why I had 18% because I was just like, nope, we're not going to have any. It's just going to fall flat and be nice. Like,
yeah, to cut, you definitely need to have air. You have to have an external air source because those little fish pumps ain't gonna cut it.
California air tools, baby.
Yeah, if you're planning on doing a lot of cutting, definitely recommend grabbing like even like an 8-gallon with the 1 horsepower from California Air Tools is reasonably priced.
I think we have a bunch of them on volume.
The best thing I've found is the Quiet Tech 26 from Lowe's. It's like $350, $400. And because I mean, if you're going to be doing a lot of cutting, especially with a lot of air, you need to have something that has more volume because you're going to create a lot of water. And if you don't have a good dissipation system or a collection system, you're going to damage your lenses. You're going to damage your laser, the material you're cutting, all that stuff. So the more volume you have, the less likely you are to have any kind of water buildup. Like I use a refrigerated air dryer in mine, but I also have a 60-gallon 2 horsepower compressor to feed all my different lasers. But the same principle applies with your smaller ones as well.
Nice.
Also, put your air dryer at the end of the line, closer to the laser, because as you send the air through the line, it's going to cool.
Yep.
And it's going to help that water condense into the separator.
Yep. And also, if there's a way you can put it like mine, the airline climbs about 4 feet from the compressor, and then it has a slope toward the compressor. That way, any condensed water can kind of trickle back
Mhm.
into the compressor and then drain it out the bottom of the compressor, so that way even less condensation or moisture will get to your system that way
Like it's
too.
really got to get up there to get there.
Yeah, like if you're dropping a line straight off your compressor to the ground, I mean,
Mm.
where's the water going to go? It's going to go to the lowest point. And then once you fire it up and you're using a high volume of air, all that water is going to get pushed right out and into your laser. Whereas if it's sloped up, like even if you're running a rubber hose, let's say, run it up above the compressor, over and then down. Try not to leave any kind of loops or anything near the laser, because that's it. Anything like that's a place for water to concentrate, and then it can blow into the laser. So
There you go. All right, next one. Here we go. That's a good question. Like CO2s, man, fun stuff. I have an 80-watt Omtech fiber laser. Focal point is 10 inches. Won't focus until I get to 12.3 16ths. Or is there a problem?
I think it's a range 12.3 to 16.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I'm not smart. I just read. I look pretty.
How do you know the focal point is 10 inches?
Yeah.
Ramp test.
Yeah,
Is that the focal distance was written on the lens? Because that's never accurate. The focal distance written on the ends on the lens is like a classification more than it is a measurement of something real. And in addition, that distance is from the mirrors inside of your scan head to the substrate, not from the bottom of the lens to the substrate. So if you're measuring from the bottom of the lens, then you're going to see a different number. So
you'll notice too, like at least on the Hyoshins, they have a sticker on the side of the mirror box, and different stickers for different mirrors, but they'll have and you'll notice that line is right at like what Alex is saying, where the mirrors inside are actually at. But the best way to do it, if you don't know that measurement, is kind of like Boyce was saying with a ramp test. But like I'll do a 1 or 2 inch square, and I'll start it, and I'll raise or lower the head until I get the most concentrated beam, I guess, or the most powerful,
loudest and the brightest.
Yep, loudest and brightest. It's best to do it on metal because you're going to see and hear it a lot better than on wood or something. But just raise and lower that until you get the most power and energy into that beam on that substrate, and then you're pretty much there.
And then measure that. I like to use, again, I think we have them on the buying guide, clear, rigid acrylic rulers are really good because you can set them down on what you focus to and then literally lower that lens down right to the point of focus.
Yeah.
And you can actually see, like, science word, but like the meniscus of the lens and get it to the millimeter exact. And then as long as you've got your kerfs in check, you can cut a focal stick of that length, no problem. We have free focal stick templates on the website in the projects database. So, and we also have multiple videos that cover this this process, like in the condensed version. And then we have multiple live streams where we do it in real time live for multiple lenses. So dig through our library too. You should be able to find
the other thing too is if you have a friend who has a fiber laser that's exactly like yours, it doesn't mean that it's exactly like yours. So that's the other thing too is Kyle and I, when we do, like, Kyle and I have been in a coaching session together where we were trying to explain that to a guy, and Kyle's like, here's my focus for this, for my 300. Matt, what's yours? And it was like a 50 or a 5 centimeter difference. You know?
Oh no, it was a lot bigger than that.
Oh, I know. So size doesn't matter, Kyle. It's how you use it.
Yeah, the F value on a standard 300 lens for 95% of them is like f420 or whatever.
Yeah.
And my focal distance is 463 millimeters to the lens, and then you have another 20 or 30 millimeters to the mirror.
Yeah.
And Matt was like, how much was it?
That's what I'm saying. It's like, it's more of like a class, like a lens class, than it is a measurement of something tangible.
Also, you got to take into account too is if people have standoffs or extended bases for their towers. You know, if someone's using 100 millimeter and the other person's using a 70 millimeter, obviously your numbers aren't going to be the same either. So there's a lot of different variables.
Yeah, dude, I never go by the measurements on the tower itself.
No. I'm talking about like mine. All of mine have I think it's like a 200 millimeter or 100 millimeter
The
riser
bump up, yeah, the risers.
to use like a 300 millimeter or 300 lens or something.
Oh, right.
But if I'm using 100 and you're using 70, even though we're using the same machine, obviously the height is not going to be the same.
Yeah, not at
So
all. Yeah.
that's just like someone asking a question about what speed and power should I use for an 80-watt laser. Well, it depends on the type
Well,
of laser,
Things.
the
Yeah,
brand.
I totally get it.
you
That
know.
came up today. Matt and I were working. Actually, Kyle was there too. We're all sitting and working on LMA questions, trying to get people's questions answered over at the Laser Master Academy. And one of them was asking how far to defocus their lens to get the black like Z mark on steel. And it's like, dude, it really like what lens are you using? You know, because if you're using a 70, it's going to be like a millimeter, and if you're using a 300, it's going to be like 15 millimeters. You know, so it like there's always variables like that they have to be thinking about.
That and like with CO2, you got the glass tube, RF tubes, all these different.
The different
Being
mirrors, the
combined.
different
Even the different
Plano
lenses,
convex,
dude.
the Plano
it's crazy.
Plano and meniscus, and
It's
all
crazy
the
how
different
different
types.
your laser behaves just going from like a 2-inch lens to like a 4-inch lens.
You guys sound like such nerds right now.
That's what we're paid to do.
The
right.
meniscus. All right, here we go. So yeah, Turd Ferguson is the best name ever. Said Patrick Adair posted a popular video. That's one of my favorite freaking clips of SNL Jeopardy. Anyways, said Patrick Adair posted a popular video about making the One Ring. So that's the prop maker for the Lord of the Rings. And it looks like he's
seen that
using a
video.
fiber laser to engrave. Any insights you could provide from the video?
That video has been around for a couple of years now.
I don't think I've seen it. Let's pull it up.
I'd say
I'll pull
without
it up.
seeing it,
It came out as a beautiful ring. He did a deep engrave on a ring.
Let's live react.
From what I remember, it was a little bit cooked looking. Like it definitely needed some post processing because he I think the goal was he wanted to be very aggressive to fill the engrave with some kind of like a powder dye, if I recall, and then he like CA glued it to get it to harden in, and then he like polished it.
All right, so we're lathing it out here.
that's a
Yep.
fiber laser right there, right?
Yep.
I think that's a CO2.
Yep. Okay. He's cutting stuff. We're doing things. It's like some welding
making a
going
mold.
on. This is all out of my range. Oh shit! Look at that.
If you
He's
could
actually
get
like
good-
casting it.
yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, dude, he
Nuts.
straight up made
So
this.
he's polishing it up, getting it, locked in, and from here he brings it down, polishes it.
So he's
smooths
making it
out.
like pretty. Yep.
Yeah,
Yep,
like
well, now
Okay,
he's
here we go.
right
So
here.
jeweler
that's
stuff.
right there. So he's definitely an easy CAD.
That was definitely a galvo laser.
Oh nope, that's Word. He's typing it up
WordPad.
in Word. That's crazy.
Probably because of the font.
That's like a D30.
No, it was like a 65.
No way. That's
Versus
easy
Nano?
CAD. There it is.
Oh
Good
yeah,
old easy
let's see.
crash.
Mark Loop 200. There's no way he leaves that there. That would be crazy. Speed 1,000, power 100, frequency 20.
Well, how
just
old
cranking
is
it,
this?
dude.
4 years, 3 years, 5 years?
This video came out 4 years,
4 years ago.
Yeah.
So the likelihood is he's. I don't remember in the video there ever being any details about the actual laser itself. But if I had to guess, 4 years ago, it was probably a 20 watt because lasers were
Yeah,
3
that
or
was
4
about it.
times more expensive as a base.
Yep.
Well, here's an insight. Here's a hot take. He never did his timing.
Yeah, those are defaults, but that's okay.
Those are defaults.
Alex is like, here's my reaction. This guy's
Rotary
shit.
mark. Push it up. There we go. We know the turning on. It's rotating the position. We're engraving.
Yeah.
So
what I
what's
remember
happening
is it
here
looked fucked.
What the fuck?
is so he's doing. So here's
A
what
letter
he's
at a
doing.
time.
This is called split mark, where basically EasyCAD is deciding. I'll show you guys. Let me rewind a little bit. So basically, split mark, which is so old and outdated now, I would never tell anybody to use this. Splitmark's looking at the spacing of this text. It's actually seeing text rather than vectors. It's looking at the spacing on the text on the screen, and it's deciding where it would be the least disruptive to turn the turn the chuck, essentially. So like where you're least likely to see the split lines between each turn of the chuck. So when he actually starts the job, you'll see. And also, I really want to point out too, you guys are looking for insights here. You're gonna get them. He has a mark loop of 200. So before the chuck ever even turns,
Max out your screen.
It's literally hitting every single one of these spots 200 times with what looks like an Aztec fill before turning to the next section. And then it's hitting that section 200 times. So he's really laying it on. And this video is super duper time lapsed. So that's what I can tell you right out of the box. And you'll be able to see some of that here. So it's turned to position. The mark starts. And now that's 200 passes right there. Then we see the shift, another 200 passes, and so on and so forth. So he's going really deep. It looks like he's wetting it.
You can tell he's trying to cool the material.
Yeah,
that's 200 passes per turn. Yeah, Jesus.
Yeah,
that ring would probably like give you third-degree burns on your finger if you took it off and put it on.
I would love to use this. It would be cool to point out. That would be the Kuwait's thermal thing that we got.
Oh my god!
Yeah, that would be cool. Yeah,
just to see, like, literally to see how much, like, what the difference is.
It's like 12 hours later, and you can take it off.
So
whoa, dude! Look at that!
It jumps to fully finished. So
literally, like the biggest, like, oh my god, dude! I would hate pulling this off. I would hate pulling this off the laser. This would be so hard to clean up.
Look at his nails! Oh my god!
Oh my god, boys!
And then it literally just like snaps, and it's like, oh hey, wait, it's done.
By the way, now it's made by elves.
So for context too, yeah, that's pretty. This is 4 years ago. This is essentially like pre-channel. This is before people were openly sharing stuff. So it's not like this guy has a lot to go on.
I'm not blaming him. I'm just in general.
I'm just saying for context. He figured something out that obviously worked for him. He got a good result.
What is that?
But like you could also,
I think he's like curing it, dude.
I think it's probably
glue, I think
CA or like a polymer glue or a acrylic glue.
Yeah.
Oh, that's cool.
So it basically fills it in, and it like sticks it in. Real
changes
good.
color, yeah.
And then buffs it out.
He sticks it in real good, Kyle?
So it's like he's doing like a really tiny epoxy pour.
Right.
Pretty much.
Sort of.
Micro pores.
Interesting.
Yep. That's wild.
That is pretty, dude. This dude has a lot of skills that I do not have.
It's pretty creative.
This kind of stuff takes so much patience. Jewelry making in general takes.
Now I want to lathe really bad.
Well, of course you do.
What the hell was that?
Looked like paper or something.
Well, this like that schmutz he's wiping off.
No,
that sound.
Like
someone snorted.
Oh, I mean, I might have not even noticed it. I'm still recovering from being super sick. I mean that
it's very cool.
That jump from being super like burned looking to almost finished and ready to be filled.
Yes, 3 days.
I can't even guesstimate how long it probably took to polish and sand that down back to flush again.
That is
because that wasn't just lifted edges. That was like slag being thrown out of the hole and re-melting to the surface.
Okay.
He just fast forward.
The UV reactant powder coat was pretty sick.
Yeah, it was dope.
Yeah, I mean the end result was absolutely gorgeous. Let me go ahead and say that.
All right. Well, that was really cool. Thank you for telling us about that. That was really neat. Okay.
Laser Everything reacts. We should do that.
That was actually really cool. Yeah. All right. So I'm new to light burn laser engraving. What are the settings for stainless steel? Well,
what laser?
What laser?
What laser?
Exactly.
Yep, and that's the thing I was gonna say. You can head over to the lasereverything.net.
Here's
and
the
go to
magic
our free
setting. Here's the
settings.
magic setting: 1,000 speed, 80% power, 25 frequency. Work on pretty much any laser, on pretty much every material that you can engrave in a brutal way. I wouldn't try that on like plastics or whatever, but literally like any metal, dude. That is just like you can throw those numbers down range and it'll just do it.
Let's just.
I mean, if you don't care about the result,
it'll work on a 20 watt. It'll work on a 30. It'll work on a 60. It will destroy your building on an 80 or a 100, but like it works. It works. 1,000 speed, 80% power, 25 kilohertz will engrave just about any metal and just about any fiber.
Speaking of 1,000 speed, here we go. We're going to speed it up. All right. So I'm new. I just set up my 60 watt MOPA Cloud Ray JPT. Congrats. Question. I read or heard you should not go past power to help keep the laser longer. Is that true? Is it true for MOPA, JPT? Question mark.
I think he's asking about max power.
Burn it like you stole it, man. Burn it like you stole it.
Fiber does not have that problem. That's very specifically.
The fiber laser is almost entirely electronics, unlike the CO2, which has like components and moving parts and fucking glass vacuum tubes and shit. The CO2 lasers are so much more mechanically complex, and the usage of them, like pumping too much milliamps through the tube, can really damage them if you do it over the long term. But that's just not true with the fiber laser, because it's, again, almost entirely electronics. The flash lamps that are pumping the fiber optic cables inside the source don't care how bright they're flashing. It doesn't make a difference. Whereas the glass CO2 tube, I mean, you can really cause some big problems very quickly by overdrawing current to the tube. So
yeah, but the thing is if you're gonna buy something to use it for a purpose, you might as well use it for the purpose. Don't.
Yeah. I mean, if
like
you
a lot of people are like, they're like, don't go above 60%. You're gonna
60.
It's an arbitrary number, but I'm just saying, like they say, don't push it past 80, whatever. Yeah, but you got to understand, a lot of the laser companies, when they make these, if you have a 100-watt tube, they're going to set it usually at a cap of about 95%.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
So you're never going to reach the full potential of that tube at 95%. So your 95% is actually now your 100, essentially.
Yeah. Which I think you can actually change that.
Like, you can overclock it.
Not that you would want to, but you could.
You can, but you probably don't want to.
Yeah. So this is why I think it's really, really useful to have like an ammeter on your system somewhere, whether it's built into the power supply or you get like one of the analog dial ones. They're super easy to install, and you can see the current that you're putting through the tube. And being able to see that current, you can almost in your mind set your power to a current instead of a percent. It ends up making more sense in the long run. You know, so if you're like, this wood engraves great at like 23 milliamps, you know, like that's going to be consistent everywhere all the time, whereas like 95% might not be.
Yeah, but I mean, you got to think of it too is, like I said, if you're babying it, you're never going to use it to its full potential. And plus, with the price of tubes nowadays, they're not that expensive. And if you build that into your pricing, then if you have to replace a tube in 2 or 3 years, you've more than made up for that cost in what you've done the past 2 or 3 years.
Yeah. By the way, someone had asked the other day, I think on the LMA, how do I price in my materials? How do I price? They figured out materials, but they're like, how do I price in taking care of my machine?
Wear and tear.
Yeah. So literally, that's where it's kind of up to you, but you can literally price in like $2 for every job, right? If you wanted to make it a percentage or make it a cost, a fixed cost,
a flat fee.
Yeah, and that's where it's just it's incidental. You just call it fees, like whatever operation fees, handling fee, whatever you want. And that's where, like he said, if you've got 3 years on a tube at 100% or whatever, then you ran, even just if you did 100 jobs a year, there you go. You just got 200 times 3, $600. You're halfway to paying off a tube. So
I agree with all that, but I also just want to point out that like tubes don't always just like explode and die like a fiery death. Sometimes they'll just like slowly lose efficiency over time. Yep. So like what used to be a 60% power job now it takes 70, now it takes 80, now it takes 90. And if you're over, going over current on your tube, and you start to notice those effects, like there's nothing you can do. You're not going to change that, but like you be aware that it's happening. Yeah, like you have to.
Like it's time to order a replacement without the stress of.
Even if you're not replacing it, even if you want to drive it into the ground, just be aware of the effects that your usage of the tube are having on it, so you can compensate. Is all I'm saying.
Well, I've seen a lot of people get on here, or not on here, but on social media, and say, "Where can I buy a spare tube?" You gotta take into consideration those tubes only have a limited shelf life.
Right.
So if you buy a tube and you don't use it for 3 years, by the time you use it, you might not be any better off than the tube that's in your laser to begin with, because they do have a shelf life. So, like Alex said, if you notice it's starting to dissipate, that's when you want to start looking at getting in a tube. You don't want to have one and just sit on a shelf, because you could be throwing away $800 to $1,500 depending on the tube, throwing it away because you haven't used it, and now you've extended your shelf life, and you might not be any better off in the end. So,
and this doesn't apply to RF tubes either.
No.
If your machine runs an RF tube, fucking do whatever the fuck you want with it, and then
boys, calm down.
Hey, Jess can edit it. I just told Miranda, I was like, Jess can edit it.
Well, and real quick, because
you can do whatever you want with an RF tube. None of this applies to RF tubes. And what was the other thing? Something about the shelf life. Oh yeah, pretty much every other part on your CO2 you can stockpile. Go nuts. Yeah, have an extra power supply is a big one. They can be hard to find, and then they can take a long time to ship,
especially during the holiday seasons.
Power supplies, lenses. You just have a mountain of lenses. Belts, go nuts on lenses, belts. Yeah, anything else that you can find. It's good to have spare parts, but the tube, like Jason said, it's just like, and just gonna buy it.
But even with an RF, even with the RF tube, they have a lifespan, but they're less likely to deteriorate like a CO2 will. And once they do, you can go get them recharged.
You can recharge them. Yep.
There's a place I think in Pennsylvania or New York or something that does a lot of that stuff.
Just like every laser is different, so is every tube. And like here's C. Barron said, we've run ours at 95% on our 150 watt, 8 hours a day for years, and it's still the original tube.
And then we had that customer on the LMA not too long ago that said they had bought like 6 tubes in 2 months. Or something like that.
And by the way, it's a semi-vacuous chamber, so they literally have small leaks for air to help it can't be a vacuum. Air has to go in. So that's where every tube is just its own little thing too. It's like its own little microcosm of
best
things.
Advice, dude, get a name brand tube. And the JPT, or not JPT,
SPT.
SPT, thank you. Yep, Reese's. The JKs are really
Laura
good.
also said throwing them down in a parking lot will also probably void them.
That's true.
Yeah,
I've done that.
All right, so let's go. We got 14 left here. David said, I work with a 100-watt fiber laser. Light burn, is it different settings from other fiber lasers?
I mean,
do you mean other
can be
software?
Your frequency curve is going to be different, but that's more settings based for the source.
I think he's asking.
Light burn's not any different.
Yeah,
light burn's not any different. Your settings are.
Yeah,
I think he's asking, will light burn be different than like EasyCAD was with his 100-watt fiber?
Not in terms of parameters.
No.
Speed and power.
Oh, yeah, speed and power. I mean, but it might change a little bit in light burn versus EasyCAD just because of the code and the software itself, but. Between lasers, it's going to vary, like your settings, but light burn itself is going to stay the same. Like I run a UV, a CO2, and a fiber off of the same light burn. It's just you got to manipulate your settings accordingly. That would be really the only difference.
And just do a material test.
Yeah, and the other thing too is that's where you can head over to our website where we literally have the free fiber laser settings. And when you go there, you got the fiber laser settings here from the groups that you can go through, and people literally have different watt lasers that they've used and tested all these things
as a starting point.
Yep. So that's nice community stuff. Oh, yep. There we go.
Right.
Third screen. And then you've also got the starter settings packs, which Kyle has tediously gone through. And when you download them, they go from 20 watt up to 100, right,
Yeah.
Kyle?
It's a wider range than that, but yes.
Wider than that even. So, and then it's there for every single lens, and it's also broken down by software too. And so, yeah, just saying, lots of different things. So, yeah, if that is the issue that you're having a question for, there you go.
I kind of almost want to correct what I said. Like your laser will have different settings from other lasers for 80,000 reasons. And one of them is because you're on Lightburn and not on EasyCAD. But there's like so many, like every lens is different. Every laser emitter has different optics in it. Every laser source is a little bit different in its length of fiber optic cables or how the diodes are pumping. Like everybody has different settings for everything. They're close. Sometimes they're very, very close, but they're usually different. So don't expect anybody who expects to get a literal sheet with numbers on it, put them into their laser and get a perfect result. That's not going to happen ever.
Yeah.
For again, 8,000 different reasons.
Yeah.
But it's 80% of the work. 85% of the work is done if you get a list of numbers, but you still have to put the last 15% of the walk in to fine tune them. So
that's the thing too.
Clarify a little.
Like JDS, for instance, they give you a laser parameters for their materials, but they're basing that mainly off of like Epilogue or Trotec or something where they're using percentages versus
like a percent
power. Yeah, well, they use different parameters, or the same parameters, but they do them different. Yeah, so using those numbers is not really a good like starting point unless you have one of those lasers, because I think they even say in there based on
60
this type of laser.
I think the big difference is that like on Ruidas or like the Trosen controllers, we're using like 300 millimeters per second and they're using like 30% speed, but you don't know what that means because you don't know the max speed of the machine, and you would have to do math to figure out what 30%. So what does 30% speed mean? It doesn't actually give you any information.
That's where I go with what Boy said. Just do a test grid, man.
Yeah, test grid's the way to go.
You just got
or just say the hell with
on that too.
And so do what Alex said. Put it at 1,000, 80%, 20% free.
1,000% power.
That works. That works for fiber lasers, dude. You guys are laughing. I'm telling you.
It'll work, but to what degree? That's to be determined, I guess.
Well, you get ask a vague question, you get a vague answer.
By the way, you also make sure you wear your glasses with that setting. Anyways, Harlan said, I'm wondering how hard is it to change a rotary driver on an OM Tech fiber laser? My current setup is causing a really strange high-pitched noise whenever I run the rotary.
So this is a Jason question, but I just wanted to say
you buy a Rotoboss. That's how you fix it.
What's making the noise though? Is the driver making the noise or is the motor making the noise? Because if it's the motor, then the wiring could have a short or could have the wrong motor for that particular driver. Because a lot of people, I've seen so many people put these posts out there saying, "Hey, can I use an X-Tool whatever rotary on my 80 watt gantry laser, whatever it is?" And it's like, well, no, because chances are X-Tool's running a different type of motor, which is typically a NEMA 17, and all the bigger, more common lasers use NEMA 23s. So you got to know what you're dealing with, and if you took a rotary that wasn't meant for that laser and you're putting it on there, especially if it's a different phase or a different size, you could be over volting, or not over volting, but over amping the motor, which is essentially eating the motor, and the windings and everything. So
if you Google NEMA motors, you can find out what current you're supposed to be sending to that motor. And most stepper drivers have dip switches on the back. Again, we have an episode on the channel about how to read those and switch them. So you can actually change the current that you're putting through to the motor. And so if you look at the motor specs and you look at the dip switches on the back, usually stepper drivers have a nice chart on them. So it'll say like literally, if you want 4 amps, turn switch 1 to on, 2 to off, 3 to on, and then it'll give 4 amps. It's very
Yeah.
easy to do once you start doing it.
And
And you just
do
want to make
your slide,
you
it
want to
does
make
work.
sure that you don't go more than half. Like say you have a 4-amp motor, you don't want to set your driver less than 2 amps. You don't want to go any less than half of what the rated amperage of the motor is, because you'll either burn out the motor or you'll burn out the driver.
Yeah.
And just the opposite, you don't want to go over 4 amps because you
Yeah.
could do the same to either that way as well. So
Which could also be very easily done. Usually the last switch is for halving the amperage.
yeah.
So you can you'll go from like 4 amps to 8 amps by flipping that switch to the on position by accident. So
Yep.
you really got to take the time. If you watch our rotary setup video, it's very vague and general, but it gives you a good idea of what these parts look like and how they work. So I would watch that if you haven't already.
And yeah, he said the rotary makes the noise. Answering Jason's question, he had said the rotary makes the noise. I think that's what I did, and it does work. So it isn't like just sitting there. It is working. It's just the rotary going nuts.
Yeah, I mean, if it's making a noise from the rotary or from the motor, you're probably over or under amping the motor.
So maybe that last switch hit it.
It might be like a 4 amp motor, and he's giving it like 3.2. So it could be like a 1 switch difference, but I would reference the chart.
By the way, numbers that don't match up: 56 viewers, 28 likes.
Ooh,
just saying,
guys,
we gotta amp that up a little bit, because otherwise,
we're going overtime.
Drive shaft going. All right. Anyways, here we go. So Keith said, I am having difficulties engraving silicon Apple Watch bands. Is it primarily for CO2s, or is it doable on a 60-watt JPT MOPA? I can say the best that I've ever engraved silicone is when I use my UV.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
If you're looking for a deep, clean engraving, CO2 is going to be the best. The fiber's basically just going to melt it.
No.
It's not gonna. I mean, it is gonna remove it, but it's gonna melt it more than it is obliterate it like a CO2 would do. A UV will basically just do a surface burn, so to speak, to discolor it. So it depends on what you're doing with it. But I would say no, that a MOPA would not do it adequately enough, or if at all.
Not nicely. Yeah.
If that's the only thing you had at your disposal, like, I would try bringing because you said it is a MOPA, so like bring your pulse duration way down to like single or double, and
raise the frequency pretty high too.
Yeah, you want to spread that power out as much as possible.
I wonder what would happen if you had like the Q pulse too. Like, how would that affect it?
That's pulse duration. That's what I'm saying.
Yes, the duration. Q pulse
duration.
Yeah, Q pulse. But like seriously, like 1 through 10, or like 10 through like maybe 50 max on the pulse duration, and like a higher frequency,
like 400 or 500 on the frequency.
Yeah, you'll have more room to play with the frequency, I think, to like dial things in. But if your pulse duration's anywhere near like 200 nanoseconds, like it normally is for fiber laser operation, you're just gonna destroy it. So way lower on that for sure.
By the way, I will say a lot of people who have glow forges have success with those silicon Apple Watch bands. Also, be careful posting those, because they do come after you. That's why you will over and over see on Facebook, I have 3,000 Apple Watch bands for sale for $300, because they're just trying to dump that product because they can't sell anymore. Just so you know.
Yeah.
They good?
Yep.
Moving on. It's been an hour.
C-Store Center says, I bought an OMTech 50-watt fiber last November. For a lot of reasons, I've yet to set it up. Finally turned it on yesterday. What drivers do I need to download to get started?
We have a video for that. Lightburn or EasyCAD?
Yeah, you'll need to download whatever the USB drivers are for it.
Lightburn will just do it when you install Lightburn, and you won't have
to opt into installing it, which a lot of people skip past, unfortunately.
Well, that you gotta have the version that allows you to run
EasyCAD
fiber.
Yeah,
we have
we got the community.
we have a great page for this. Downloads, and then I believe it's software.
Yep.
And you scroll down, and we have all your drivers right here. So we've got the 32-bit and 64-bit. EasyCAD 2 drivers, as well as the 64-bit EasyCAD 3 drivers. EasyCAD 3, if that's what you're on, I don't think he specified, is 64-bit only. There are no 32-bit drivers for this software. So don't click that. And while you're in there, grab the EasyCAD 2 Community Edition if you're not going to use Lightburn for some reason. This is the best version of EasyCAD 2 that you can get. If you are going to use Lightburn, when you install Lightburn for the first time, as Kyle said, do not skip past the initial prompt that asks you to install the drivers, because the Lightburn software installer will literally just install them for you while you're installing Lightburn. You don't even need to think about it. It'll just do it.
Well, you got to have the license to the DSP and the Galvo.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it won't do anything.
Yeah.
The other thing too is now you don't have to go back and forth to EasyCAD and Lightburn if you want to do a core file.
Yeah, because the lens corrections, native lens corrections. Kyle just published an episode on that.
And 1.5 is now pushed, so it's already public. In case you guys haven't downloaded that yet, just download it.
Yeah,
remind me, I gotta do that.
All right, Makers and Joe says, evening all. Question about coins. What is the status on the LE Coin Special project? What kind of timeline are you looking at per side? Just engrave, not including post processing.
Kyle and I have been taking turns being sick, so we haven't really worked on it. Our latest estimates say per side, I think we're estimating like we could get it down to maybe like 30 minutes with the changes we wanted to make, right, Kyle?
Yeah, something like that.
That's about as far as we got, and it's been bookshelved until we're both feeling better. So I'm feeling better now, and Kyle is sick again. So when Kyle feels better, we should both be better for a little while, and we'll be able to work on it some more. And when we do, it will certainly be live streamed on the channel. So keep an eye out. If you don't already have the notification bell clicked, click it, because that notifies you when we go live, and you'll be able to hang out with us while we're working on it. But at the moment, it's on back burner. We're going to come back to it.
By the way, I'm bouncing back and forth between the start and the live to see if these people are responding. C Store Center said he's using EasyCAD, and also he doesn't know, but he's on Windows 10.
It's 64-bit, 99.9% sure it's 64-bit. So you want the 64-bit EasyCAD 2 drivers. That said, please consider upgrading to Lightburn. It's by V. It's really, really worth the money that they're asking for, and it will change your engraving experience dramatically. So while yes, you go get the drivers now, play with your laser a little bit, build some confidence, have fun. When you want to start getting some work done and you want the software to stop getting in your way, and you will get frustrated with EasyCAD, buy the DSP. Just buy the full version of Lightburn, because you'll probably need the DSP at some point. The G code is nice to have, and you'll get the Galvo license as well. And it's worth it. When they ask you to renew your license, it's like $30 to $60, and you get a whole $30 year of updates.
A year worth of updates.
They're doing major updates every year that introduce just like giant piles of new features, and it's actively supported. So I seriously consider that, please. But yeah,
dare you to find a better deal.
You want to start playing right now? You want to start playing with your laser tonight? Sure. Go grab the EasyCAD drivers, slap them on there. It's easy enough to switch over, and check out the Lightburn for Galvo crash course. I don't even care. I'm telling them. Check out the Lightburn for Galvo crash course.
Yeah, two answers for this one.
Another question is it okay to practice is it okay or good to practice leaving the laser on while working on a project?
Your laser should be on while you use it. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I think they're like leaving it on and walking away, maybe.
I think he means literally on, not marking, but just on while he's like at his desk and the laser's just sitting there running. I've left lasers on for weeks. So it's probably fine. The one thing, and we talk about this on the show fairly regularly, dust your shit. Dust it. You got to make sure that those fan bays are clear of like dust bunnies. The laser source needs to be able to cool itself. And if it's just sitting there, especially if it's on the floor, guys, don't put your lasers on the floor. If it's on the floor, like, you got to make sure that you're cleaning and dusting those things out very regularly, because you will start getting the over temp warnings which we hear complaints about all the time. It's always because the fans either don't work anymore because they've been jammed up so long the motors are burned out, or they can't provide any airflow because they're so jammed up that they're clogged.
We call that the chocolate cake syndrome.
The chocolate cake, dude. It's no good and it's not tasty. So make sure it's fine. Inherently leaving the laser on is not a problem, but it can cause symptoms of other problems if you're not paying attention.
It's like leaving a computer on, and that's kind of what I tell like a friend of mine who just got one. But the other thing too is if you've got like a bench like this, I went to IKEA, I bought the little bookshelf underneath that's literally
the Schmorgen blurb.
Huh?
It's the Schmorgen blurb.
Yes, the Schmorgen blurb. It's I hate you. But anyways, if you buy that, what's great is you can put your devices on it. It fits right underneath the 72-inch workbench. And also there's this guy, which I have in one of the videos that we posted. It literally is for a computer tower to sit on the ground, and you can fit a fiber laser right into it. And it rolls. It just keeps it off. I know it sounds silly, but if you got nowhere else to put it, this was $20 off Amazon, and it rolls. It moves around. It's so easy to do, man. Just take a couple minutes.
Then get the remote switch.
Yes. All right. So here we go. Real quick. Next one.
Don't leave your laser running a job while you walk away.
Right.
But you can design with it on. You can design with it off. It doesn't matter.
If you want something a little sexier than Matt's little cart, I got this one off Amazon, and it's like a pipe.
But I'm
system,
talking about lasers.
And it mounts
a laser.
It's a big metal box. It mounts up under your desk, so you can literally mount it. Yeah, thank you.
Can you do that again?
You can mount it. God damn it! You can mount it up under your desk, and it just slides apart, and you can slide the box in. It's so nice. This one was like $60, so I would check this one out if I were you. Instead of having a dumb little cart. Matt's like, I'm not a teacher anymore, but I still need carts in my life.
They roll. It's got wheels. All right. What is the best wattage for a fiber laser? I'm getting one, but I don't want overkill. I want sufficient. 60. I think 50 watts is the best middle of the road, in my opinion. I guess 60 watt, 50 or 60.
50 watt M7 if you're poor. Yeah. Or 50 watt LP if you're poor, 60 watt M7 if you're not.
Yeah. I mean, I always tell people get the biggest you can afford because you never know what you're going to need. And you can always go less with more than more with less. So worst thing is to get like a 20 or 30 watt and realize you need a 50 or 60 watt, and then now you're stuck until you can afford a bigger one.
Well, and the reason I say 50 and 60 is because affordability. So there's cheaper end 20, 30 watt, but you also have less power and ability. It's that flexibility we had talked about earlier, Jason. You know, like having later on you're like, I'm just gonna buy it for this, but then later on you're here trying to do stuff and you can't.
But realistically, with a fiber, power is not anything more than time. You can do the same. You could do the same with a 20 watt as you could do with a 60 watt. It's just
like
going to
the guy who made that ring we just saw.
The biggest, I think, sacrifice you're making by getting a lower wattage laser is you're giving up larger work areas, right? So like if you get like a 20 watt laser, you're not rocking a 200 millimeter lens. You're just not doing it because your dot size is so big. You cannot achieve the power density necessary with that lens to ablate material. So if you need a really big workspace, get a bigger amount of wattage. But that said, I don't want to undersell the small lasers either. This channel, this YouTube channel, and my entire business that came before it was built on the back of a 30 watt LP source from JPT. And it did what it needed to do for a very long time. I stretched that thing to do things it was never ever meant to do. I mean, you can figure it out, you can do it, but it's not the best. You know, I really think like the 60 watt M7 it's such a like. I know we haven't been around long enough to have classics, but I feel like the 60 watt M7 is like the classic at this point.
I think that the 60 watt M7 based source laser is probably what your 30 watt LP laser cost 5 years ago.
Yeah.
Is another factor to consider there too.
Yeah. All right. Next one. I mean, by the way, Laura, you know all of us. You can reach out to any of us at any time. We got you. So Foremost Creation said, thoughts on a sweet spot for the CO2 Galvos, looking to drop the 130 watt gantry and go tabletop. The fiber primarily, so leatherette, genuine leather, wallets, and glassware. Not ready for a dedicated UV yet.
Well,
You're not doing glass with that, so.
Well, the thing with if you had one laser, if I had one Galvo laser, it would be a UV, because it will do everything
all of those
that all the other ones will do and some. The only downside to that, obviously, is the power right now. I think the highest they have is a 15. I've got a 10.
And the price for that.
And yeah, and the price is very high. But if you're looking for something that's going to be able to take the place of a CO2 gantry, a fiber, or a CO2 Galvo, a UV is going to be your all-around best bang for your buck. Especially if you're just starting out and you don't have a lot of money, but you want to be able to do a lot of things. UV, because UV will do plastics and glass, which none of the other ones will. I mean, a CO2 will, but
a gantry CO2 with a glass tube will.
Yes. Yes.
The CO2 Galvos are generally pulsed lasers, and pulsed lasers won't touch glass. And if they do, they shatter it, or it's like really hideous. It's not what you think it's going to be.
Post-process.
Yeah, it's not at all what you think it's going to be, and you're going to be severely disappointed if you get a CO2 Galvo thinking it will do glass. It won't.
TBC, the UV will do clear acrylic as well. It'll do everything.
Very nicely.
There's nothing that UV will not touch.
I like to say that the UV will mark everything, but it's not great at engraving. You're not going to be doing depth.
Well, I've done knives and firearms and all kinds of stuff with the UV. The only problem is you have to go slow, and you have to do it quite a few times.
And you need the 10 water. I wouldn't.
Yeah,
I would. That on 5.
Yeah, the 5 watt I wouldn't touch. The 10 watt, or I think they have a 15 now.
10,
or
12,
maybe it's a
15.
20. But definitely the higher wattage UV. I mean, you can get a high watt UV for about $8,000 to $9,000. And like I said, it'll do everything really well. It's obviously not going to do on metal what a fiber would do. It won't do organics like a CO2 would do. But as a general all-around machine, and all you have is $10,000, the UV is probably going to be your best bet, in my opinion.
Yeah. The other thing too to think about is, instead of having to just have one machine, that 130 watt, when you sell it, you probably could buy a pretty decent fiber and a CO2 Galvo that would give you way more flexibility, and it'd just be like the two right here behind me. Well, right here.
But they're just giving up glass.
Yeah, it really is. Yeah, and that's the thing. So if you primarily, like, I 100% agree with Jason. Wallets, glassware, leather are going to be amazing on the UV. Leatherette, once you find your sweet spot with your device, it's primo, right?
Yep.
So,
and the good thing is, like, for stainless especially, you can do dark black stainless or dark black engraving on stainless with a UV without any sprays or any of that stuff.
Yeah.
Brass, copper, all that stuff you can do without sprays. So there's a lot of benefits to it. But again, it really boils down to what are you going to do with it. You know, if you're just doing leatherette, you know, glassware, you're going to need a UV, period.
Yeah. And I would say even leather, just if it's genuine leather, UV makes it's crisp. There's almost no cleanup. You can make an embossed look almost, or you can make a nice burned in char. And I've gotten some really nice results with my UV.
I can't really imagine having a CO2 Galvo and not having a gantry. Like, I feel like the Galvo is like the auxiliary to having the gantry.
It's the specialty. Like, you've now figured out what you're going to make, and you're going to make a shit ton of them and really fast.
Yeah. If that's true for you, then yeah.
But I would also say you're kind of giving up cutting too when you get rid of that gantry. I would say don't plan on doing a whole lot of cutting with your Galvo.
Galvos are not cutting.
They're not designed for cutting. They're not really made for that. Can you get away with it in some cases? Maybe. Depends on what you're cutting.
Things, but short runs.
It's not great. Yeah.
And it's bad.
Yeah.
Like, if you're just making patches, maybe out of leatherette.
Except again, glass, UV.
Yeah.
UV's a great glass cutter.
If all you're doing is buying pre-made blanks, sure, why not? But if you got to cut material and engrave it, your best to keep that CO2 around or the gantry around for that
Or get a
stuff.
smaller one. Get a smaller
yeah.
gantry. Get something like
Yep.
the Ranger from Light Object, or like one of the desktop Omtecs. Could do really well in that situation.
Yep.
That way you at least still have some direct like DC cutting power from a glass tube.
There's
Yep.
no laser does everything, guys. That's just all there is to it.
Well,
right
you
tool,
can
the
laser
right thing you wanna
everything.
make.
Every laser
Yeah.
doesn't
It does
do
everything well.
They do
Yeah,
everything
everybody
well,
do.
but nothing will do everything good.
Power consumption meters that work.
Yeah, there you go. So, do you guys know
I
of any
don't.
good power consumption meters that work well with lasers?
Like one you would like plug into your outlet to see what you're drawing over time.
That's a great question.
I've
So
actually
precision
I'm
been
wondering-
doing
here.
power testing.
Yeah.
Oh
so
yeah, Kyle's been all over this.
Yeah.
Are they
I'll
talking
have a
about
video
power
on that.
consumption, or are they talking about like what we were talking about?
Like an
with
ammeter?
the
No, I think they
ammeter?
mean. I think they mean like a. If
Tube.
I guess,
When we talk that question came in a while back. We were talking about the tubes kicking
Was
out
it?
and wearing out over time. Yeah.
oh, then you can get an
Oh.
ammeter off AliExpress for like $15.
Well, you can
They'll
also
do
they're,
get.
anything.
they're cheap.
I've got
They're
a
cheap.
laser thermometer. It's basically like it looks like a big old turkey thermometer, but it's got a steel plate on the end of it, and you fire the laser into it, and it actually reads the power going into it. So I mean, if you really wanted to get that technical, then you could get something like that. I don't know the technical name for them,
Like
but
an Remember how
Actual
much that
laser
was,
power
though?
meter.
yeah, like a
Like-
laser.
That's like an
laser-
Get the
output
Cloud Ray
wattage
one.
checker kind of deal.
How much was
Yeah.
that though?
I don't know. I got it with my laser.
I got you.
Mm.
At some point. I had
Laser
it
power
forever.
meters are generally pretty expensive.
Yeah. So if you're
Yeah.
still here, if you want to clarify that for you, we can help you out a little bit more. But Harlan said, "I tell you what, these Q&A sessions do wonders for my confidence. Don't stop."
Cool.
So-
Get
Well,
it. Don't stop.
Oh shit.
All right. Mark said, "Any recommendations or tips and tricks for installing a beam combiner on a gantry CO2?"
Yeah, don't buy an SPT. Get the TR version SPT. You literally, when you plug that tube in, there's a built-in beam combiner that combines the beam with a red dot before the CO2 laser leaves the tube. It's so easy. And I've botched in my Omtech right now. The beam combiner that's in my Omtech is super glued in place because I've drilled out the body of my Omtech too many times to put more like self tappers in to make more holes. I can't make any more holes in it. So it's literally like a block of aluminum to get this just the right height in order to get the thing where it needs to be to line it up. And it's constantly going out of focus. I'm just like, I'm over it, dude.
You can get one of those ones that hang off the side of the head too. It's just basically a red dot pointer.
The little 45 degrees, which I can't stand those either.
They do suck, but if you need something in a pinch and you don't want
I really
Wriggling up.
recommend the TR series tubes from SPT. You can get them from Marco. You guys know Marco over at Light Object. We have a whole series about his facility and all the shit he sells. Go check it out. There's a link in the buying guide. It's buyingguide.lasereverything.net should still work, and buyingguide.makerremix.com. You guys can go check those out. Let me just double check that.
If you can't justify the expense of a multi-$100 tube and you don't like the functionality of a 45-degree red dot, your option is a beam combiner, which these guys hate the thought of installing.
They're awful. They're just so bad. They're never the right height.
Hear me out.
God, I hate them.
There are beam combiner options that you don't have to replace mirrors for.
Here we go. Beam modifiers. Expand.
And I have a video coming out on one I've been getting ready to install, but let me pull up a photo.
Ooh, laser sources and tubes. Here we go. SPT tubes. There's literally a link. Amanda put a link. It says buy tubes. It's the last link on the tubes page on the buying guide. So it's laser parts, laser sources, and tubes. Scroll all the way down. SPT tubes. If that's the way you want to go. That's the way I would go. It would just save you so much frustration. But we'll hear Kyle out.
You damn right you will.
Look at that grimacing face.
Yes.
You know
Static.
you love it.
That's the face of an alpha male.
All right. Well, while he's pulling that up.
All right, here, I got it.
Oh, he's already got it. Nice.
I got it. I just need to share my
Look at this
screen
guy.
without breaking my computer in half.
Yeah, when you pop it up, I'll put it in here.
That's what she said.
Sure.
That was for you, buddy. All right, here we go. Adding to stage.
All right. So here I am on the Cloudray website. And if you search for beam combiner, this is a set style C beam combiner. And this actually gets bolted to the wall that's between your cabinet
Oh, okay.
and your tube enclosure. So it goes between mirror 1 and 2, essentially. So you're not trying to shove something between the tube and the first mirror. You're skipping that and going between mirror 1 and 2. And the red dot goes in through the bottom and reflects up at the lens that's in this little, there we go, this little spot right here. And the CO2 beam passes right through that. Hence beam combining. There you go. You don't have to move the tube. You don't have to move the mirrors. You literally just have to basically put this in place and either drill out some holes, or you could even use self-tappers. I mean, there are clean ways and dirty ways. But
so that's just a flat lens. It's not a convex.
It looks like it's it's a flat lens on both sides.
Yeah.
And it's
acting as a mirror for the red dot, and it is acting as a pass-through for the CO2.
Yep. And then
that is it.
One more thing too, talking about combined, we have 57 viewers now and 41 who have clicked like. So if you guys want to self-tap that mouse, we could get that combined.
Just we get a good link for this in the description, Kyle.
I will add a link to this in the description.
That. You made Alex like not angry with that. That's pretty good.
This is why I ordered this one.
I still think the SPT tubes are a more elegant solution, but this is better than the first mirror assembly.
I mean, for $50, you get this mount and a red dot. Like you get this, and you also get the lens. So it's really not a bad value if you already have a perfectly good tube. If you needed to replace the tube, man, that red dot combined tube is like a really good value. You don't have to deal with weird, funky alignment of stuff.
We did an episode, if you check out the light object series on the channel, it's on the homepage. Just scroll down again. It says light object 2023. We did a test to see how much power you lose with the SPT versus the JK that didn't have the inline beam combiner, and it was actually pretty minimal. There was like a 5% power loss max. So if cutting is all you do and you're cutting inch thick wood, like maybe it's not a good idea, but for everybody else it's fine. And I think that they're a good buy for sure.
I will have a video on this in the coming weeks, doing an installation and wire up on this.
Nice.
So if you're not feeling super confident or don't know what you want, you're more than welcome to wait for that video to decide how you want to proceed with your laser, and I can be your test guinea pig.
Your wife literally right underneath that said, "Be careful, you angered YouTube with that comment."
I know, that's why I highlighted it. I like it.
Dude, James Brewer's here. It's been a while.
Yeah, dude.
Nice.
Brewer's here.
He's been here since the beginning when we talked about the weather. He's been a while.
So I mean, I hope that helps.
Yeah,
that's all I can really offer on that front. I definitely would skip the ones that replace mirrors, because those end up just pissing people off to no end.
By the way, we definitely combined after that last comment. They love that segue. We now have 58 viewers and 55 likes. So
nice.
All right, here we go real quick. We just added one more.
We're at 90 minutes. Is this?
Yeah, I know. That's what I'm saying. So let's finish it up here. What are the chances of cutting 1 millimeter stainless steel with a 50-watt radius? Very good.
Why are you shaking your head? No, you can do it.
You can
totally do it.
Chances are good. You won't like how it works.
It's gonna take a while, but you can do it. I cut 0.8 millimeters on the aluminum sticker and keychain episode with the 30-watt laser. So it's definitely doable. You're going to spend some time doing it. We have, I think, what is going to be a more elegant solution for that coming from Atom Stack really soon, which is their MR20, which is a gantry mounted fiber laser that operates on a diode chassis, which is sick. So you get very, very short focal distances, which means much more focused power. And it's cutting straight down at a 90-degree angle instead of scanning out because there's no F theta lens. The end result is that they claim, AtomStack claims that this can cut 0.2 millimeter aluminum in one pass, which is absurd.
That
So
is
if that's true,
boisterous.
something like this with a 400 by 400 millimeter workspace would allow you to make fairly quick work of 1 millimeter stainless steel. So if cutting is what you want to do, because fiber laser cutters, machines that are actually designed to cut metal, are extremely expensive still. So if this MR20 unit works out, like this could be really big for people that want to cut like thin sheets of metal on a smaller scale without buying a machine like that. So maybe hold off and wait. It should be, AtomStack's been pretty quick in the past. I'd expect a video on that to be out in the next month or so. I don't have the unit yet, but I'm really looking forward to playing with that for sure. So
yeah, short answer, yes, you can. Is it the best tool for the job? No.
No.
All right. So Nick Morris
That
said,
link is
also,
already in
any
the
tips for
description, by
aligning
the
a
way.
free floating 8 times expander on a Galvo CO2?
Why is it is it like the setup where you have yes there are tips. Go to the next question. I'm going to pull a video up for him.
Turd Ferguson, back at it again. I love that name, man. It's great.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hey, anyways, any tips for building a safety enclosure for a 1064 fiber laser?
If you want to be legit, you need to get actual fiber or rated safety
Glass,
either glass or acrylic that's rated
if you
for
want to
that.
be able to see into it anyway.
Well, yeah. I mean,
If
you
it's
can put
opaque where it's not non-visible, like solid walls,
yeah,
you can put it into an enclosure with just some sheet metal on the sides or whatever.
Cardboard.
and
Maybe
then for
not
a handle.
sheet. That's going to be
I wouldn't use
I
sheet
would
metal.
go with something that absorbs 1064 better, maybe like wood.
Well, I mean, you can use acrylic, black acrylic.
Okay. So here, we'll just answer this one really quick. Well, okay. First question, tips on how to align shit. This video talks about it. How to align a CO2 laser RF tube. So if you're looking for Galvo CO2 alignment, we talk about the different principles that you need to be aware of. I'm assuming this is what you mean. Here's the expander here before it exits into the Galvo head out front. So we do talk about how to adjust these and how to capture the output of the laser without hurting yourself. That's really the best tip that's provided in this video. But we do talk about it. So if you haven't seen this video, I've asked Kyle to include a link to this one down in the description. It goes pretty far in depth for one of our older videos. So we do talk about it. To answer the second question, if you do want those see-through windows, No IR sells them. It's noirinsight.com. No, they're not an affiliate. They never have been. But here you can see the different wavelengths of coverage you're going to get from the different materials. They're all rated. You get spec sheets on the materials. So if this is for a fiber laser, we're really just looking for something with the 1064 rating at 6+ or better. So if I had to pick one of these really quick, let's see, 5+ on that one. This one's no coverage. 5+ on that one. No
Usually
coverage.
Darker greens, aren't they, for fibers?
Yeah, the
darker green colors.
IDW 150 is looking. Nope, not that's 5+.
The lighter one has higher visible light transmission, but it also means if you're doing anything like copper or brass, you're gonna wish you'd bought the dark.
Here we go. 1064. Yeah. They have a handy tool here at 6. Search. What do you got for me?
Yeah.
Yep. There you go. So here's a whole listing. Now here's the thing. This price is per square foot. So it's meant to be a window, not a wall, right?
Yeah, it's very expensive.
You're gonna spend a lot of money on this if you try to do 4 walls out of this. But they are reasonable for windows. So if you're just looking for a square foot of it to have a nice big viewing window, viewing port on the front of your enclosure, They have some options here that would do very well, and you can go through and check out the visible light transmission on each of those, as well as the wavelengths they block and the appropriate rating for those wavelengths.
And again, too, like if you were buying that to go with your 50-watt Rakis that is going to cut steel all day or whatever, get the one that has a lower visible light transmission so that you can actually check out what's going on in there. Otherwise, every time you look, you're going to be like, oh my God. So just a thought.
Yeah, the lower this number is, the darker it's going to be. So and there are multiple options here, like the DBW 125 that give you 6+ at 1064. So there are some good options in here for sure.
All right, and then the last question that we've got that pertains to us: can you guys compare SPT tubes with Resi tubes?
They're both. So we actually, one of the episodes that I have for the LBX series that hasn't been published yet, I essentially ask Marco this question, and what he says in it, and we'll publish it at some point so you can hear Marco say it. What he says in it is the major differences between his 3 favorite companies, which is Resi, SPT, and JK. And this man engineers CO2 lasers. This is his like lifeblood. Is the warranty that he gets as a distributor in order to return them. So he can offer better warranties on some of them than he can on others because his return window with them is longer or shorter. But on average, he finds the quality of those big 3 about equal. All things considered, he says they're more or less, you're going to get a great tube no matter which one you get. Buy one that suits your needs. Like if you need the inline beam combiner and you don't want to mess with it, check out the TRs from SPT. If you don't need that, maybe a JK is good for you. If you need something that's gonna have a really, really good warranty, Resi might be the better option. So it just depends on what you need. They're all about the same price and they're all great quality tubes. Again, I'll let him say it in the episode when we publish it so you can hear it from the horse's mouth. But that's the gist of the conversation that we have during the interview.
And there is one more question I'm going to cover just so Jason can sit back down because this is a quick one. And Boyce did a great job answering it already in the chat. But Shelly said, hey guys, so new to this. I've never used my laser or never used a laser. My husband got me one for my birthday. It's going to be here soon. Congratulations.
Happy birthday.
And then she said, can you point me to any videos? And Boyce put a great answer in chat already that said, hey, every Laser Everything has a search function on YouTube. Search for the videos for each step of the way. Yep.
Yeah, Kyle. So here Shelly says it's a 90-watt CO2 from AP Laser. First, good luck with that bed, dude. That bed drives me nuts. You'll know what I mean sooner than later. But one thing that Kyle has been putting a lot of effort into and has been planning on continuing soon, I think, I don't want to speak for him, is the Lightburn for Gantry Crash Course. And so that can be found in our playlist as well. Let me pull up the channel here. So if you're on the channel, yes, the search function, excellent. There are a lot of early Laser Everything videos in our vlog series that talk about some things about CO2 lasers that you won't find in other places on the channel. But the really easy to follow stuff, the really, really good stuff is made by Kyle here. So you'll see the section labeled Crash Courses, and you want the Lightburn for Gantry Crash Course right here. And Kyle will walk you through literally every step of the way, getting your machine set up. He's not done with the series yet, but he plans on resuming work on it really soon. And there's enough in here to get you well on your way. So this is exactly where I would start. I'm pretty sure the AP lasers are running Ruidas. So this should be relevant to you. Absolutely. So that would be my best advice I can give you.
There you go. And there were a few other questions, guys. If we didn't get to yours, it's because most likely it's already been answered previously before you got here. A lot of it was asking about like where can I find settings and stuff like that. Head over to lasereverything.net, go over to the settings, the free settings tab, and click on what it is you need. Right?
Yep. That's really straightforward.
Whew. And then Laura, I saw you message me on Facebook. I got you after the show.
All right, guys. Well, this was a hell of an episode. An hour and 40 minutes we're going on. We're way over time.
55 likes.
But you know what? I'm stoked. This was fun. It's been a minute since we've just been able to do just like a Q&A and hang out and talk about
And
regular
thank
shit.
everybody who brought the questions. A lot of times people don't ask questions. Like when you got them, we got answers for you.
These are my
good.
these are my literal favorite episodes. Like I like doing the ones like this. They're just so comfortable for me, and I feel like we help people the most when we do these. Not that our guests don't bring value, Jason, but we I feel like he's like, I'm out.
He's like, I'm out of here. F this place.
I'm out.
I have a lot of fun doing these with you guys.
I'm glad he asked if you could hang out with us tonight, man. I appreciate you coming.
Yeah, dude, it's been great having you
anytime.
as always.
Especially
Oh,
rotary
really
questions.
quick.
Yeah,
Since, I mean, we've already effed this up so bad. Tell people about your new podcast. Plug it. You're here.
Oh, yeah. So we just started up the Turn and Burn podcast. Not to take anything away from what Alex does here or anybody
They're
else.
very different podcasts.
Very, very different. We're focused, obviously, turn, rotaries, burn, laser. So it's kind of a mix between the two. And we just had our first episode last week, I believe, and it went pretty well. But it's just me and Chris Ocasio. We'll have people on it. Plan on having Alex and Matt and whoever else. We'll bring people on. Kind of do the same thing that we're doing here, but just trying to keep it focused.
It's a different vibe, guys.
When you guys are ready for a guest, by the way, I live like 20 minutes from Chris. Like I'll just drive over there and be on it.
There you go. No, we have some stuff lined up, but for now we're just kind of testing the waters and seeing how it'll go.
At the most, like every 2 weeks, right? Was kind of your goal right now.
Well, at the most 2 weeks, just because we're obviously both of us are pretty busy and whatnot, and then we're trying to keep it focused on what the name implies, essentially. So we're trying to make sure that we're keeping it, focused on that. It is kind of a BS session, but much like yours, it's kind of driven by the audience. So, but yeah, just keep an eye out. We'll probably have one sometime around Valentine's.
Yep, and that's over on your channel, the Rotoboss Rotary Attachments channel.
We post there. We actually have a Turn and Burn on Facebook. So if you want to check that out, they got a Turn and Burn group.
What night is the podcast?
We don't have a set night. We just whenever our schedules are free, pretty much.
So here's how you guys solve that problem. Subscribe and then click the notification bell, and then you'll get notified the next time Jason goes live. But for the podcast itself, it's going to be posted there. But we do have a Facebook group as well that has all that, and we're going to have all the different podcasts and stuff in the playlist. I don't think I'm actually a member of the Facebook group. Let's see.
What the hell's wrong with you, man?
And Burn. Let me look.
I probably invited you, and you just ignored me.
Is right here. So this is what it looks like, guys. Here you can see the first episode right here. Personally, I despise the way that Facebook handles comments when you're live, because they like our regular post comments. They're really hard to read. But if you really love Facebook, it's right here, guys. The Turn and Burn podcast. And I'll go ahead and click join group. Wow, 6 friends already members. That's crazy. I'm behind the ball on this one. So go check that out, guys. We'll leave links to both of these down in the description for you as well. And
if anybody listening has any recommendations or suggestions or whatever, just drop us a comment. Yeah. So we can help gear it towards the users themselves. So
yeah, right on. And I think, are we good? Is that an hour and 45? Are we done?
Yep, hour 43. So now you got a minute to plug some stuff.
This is the longest episode you guys have had to listen to in a while.
There's a lot of really good information, though.
This is great. This one was dense. This was jam-packed. Thank you guys for hanging out with us live. If you're here with us live, if you're listening to the audio podcast, I haven't said this in a while. Please consider leaving us a review, especially on Apple Podcasts. It's really easy. You don't actually have to write a review. Just leave Jason some feedback for the Turn and Burn podcast in our review field. So I wanted to say 5 stars, Jason, you could use a little bit different of a lighting setup in your studio. Like that, something like that would be great. Just because we haven't had any recent reviews and I'd like some new ones. So if you guys haven't left us a review, leave us a review. Shout out to our sponsor, guys. We're sponsored now. I'm so used to being make the sponsored by Coca-Cola jokes, and I can't make those anymore. We actually have a sponsor.
We should sublimate a Coke can to look like Johnson Plastics Plus.
We should. Brought to you by Johnson Plastics. Tastes like quality blanks. JPplus.com. There's a link. There's a link to their store down in the description, along with a coupon code where you guys can get 15% off pretty much everything in their store. There's a couple exceptions, but for the most part, 15% off, which is a pretty rockin' deal. They've been really solid about helping us out, especially during our slow time of year. And so we just want to thank them for being here for us. We've been buying their products since the first episode of this channel. The very first episode of this channel, I said it at the beginning and say it again at the end, was on Johnson Plastics Plus Romark Naturals and how to cut and engrave big signs out of it for like outdoor use. It's a cool episode if you want to go back and get some Laser Everything nostalgia. But seriously, they've been awesome. Everything they sell is great. Their customer service is stellar, and I'm really proud to have them sponsoring the podcast. So again, go check them out with the link in the description. Don't forget to smash the like button if you haven't already. Hit the notification bell so you get notified the next time we go live. Go subscribe to Turn and Burn. And I don't know, Boyce might not be here next week. I don't know.
I'll be here next Tuesday.
You'll be here next Tuesday for our guest. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, because I've already talked to her and set her up.
All right, good. You guys aren't losing Boyce yet.
But dope hat, by the way.
Dude, right? Isn't that
I
hat
dig
sick?
the hat.
Check
I
that
said,
out.
that's a pretty
I said
dope
the
hat.
same
My
thing when he got on.
mom bought me this hat from Target, dude.
Your
It's a
mom is
Christmas
cool.
present.
That's
Your
pretty
mother. That's all I got, guys. Thank you
mother-
so much for listening to this episode. Go sign up for the LMA if you want us to keep our jobs. Masters.lasereverything.net, and we'll see you in the next one.
Good night, everybody.
Later.